What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of GEARBreakerNation with your excellent assessment and reviews. And in this video, I'm going to give you my top 20 highly anticipated films of 2016. Coming in at number 20, Independence Day Resurgence. Now, when Independence Day first came out back in the 90s, it was a really popular movie. It was a lot of really good action. It was an interesting story. It was highly entertaining. Will Smith was a complete badass. The aliens were complete badasses, some really good acting. And I would love to see how the story picks up after they beat those aliens. I would like to see how the story is going to pick up with Will Smith's son in the film. How they come with the new aliens with bigger and badder ships, how the people have used the technology, and how it's going to just clash into this one big, massive, badass battle. At number 19, The Legend of Tarzan. Now, I like this bit of Tarzan because Tarzan is one of my favorite kind of folklore type tales, and I've enjoyed many of the other or the older classics. And this film looks like it's going to take a more realistic take and be a bit more violent. And I like the fact that it actually shows there's going to be tribes here, that the people, and he's going to be able to control the apes. And this will be a pretty interesting take on it, considering the live action aspect and how the scope of it's going to be. And I'm really interested in seeing this film. Coming at 18, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Out of the Shadows. Now, I did really enjoy the first film. I thought some of the plot holes that they had were a bit either convenient or just were completely unnecessary and rip-offs of other films. But this film, it did manage to actually establish and build its own world. And I'm kind of interested in seeing Bebop and Rocksteady, how they're going to bring in the alternate dimension, Baxter. I want to see how they're going to sit here and implement all of these characters into this film. Not to mention, I really love the way that the Turtles look with their new outfits. Coming in at 17, Assassin's Creed. I started playing the Assassin's Creed games. I think the story is really interesting and well written, and I like how it's all just going down through memories and you're like playing through the memories of ancestors. And I think that's a pretty interesting take on, you know, this type of a game, and it'd be pretty interesting to see it as a film. And I'm really interested to see which story they're gonna go with. Me personally, I hope they kind of go with the Assassin 2 storyline, but you know, we're starting to flesh out, you know, better video game adapted films, and I really hope that this movie completely kills. Coming in at 16, Doctor Strange. I haven't been too much of a Doctor Strange fan. After that one animated movie, I thought it was a pretty good concept, and I'm really interested to see how they're going to take this film, this Doctor Strange film, how it ties in with the other Marvel films. Is this going to be an origin story, or is he going to be already established? I mean, it's a really good, interesting, you know, it's a really good way to actually flesh his character out. And I want to see how they're going to really set him up. Coming in at 15, Gambit. Gambit is one of my all-time favorite X-Men, and the dude's complete badass. I'm not sure how Channing Tatum is going to actually pull it off. Because I think Channing Tatum is a pretty good actor. He's a decent actor, but I don't know if he can actually pull a role like this. But maybe this guy could surprise me. And if this movie is going to be about Gambit, are other characters going to be introduced into it? Is Gambit actually going to be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? What other characters? Is Logan going to make an appearance? What about Rogue? What about some of the other, other characters? Is X-Men characters going to be into it? You know, this is just an interesting take. And I would like to see Gambit be in his own film, because Gambit is a complete badass. And the man has a bit of a backstory to him. Coming in at 14, Ghostbusters. Now, everybody's been talking about a Ghostbusters, either reboot or a continuation, and I would love to see this film, you know, the older Ghostbusters, see and pass the torch down to the younger Ghostbusters, which I think is the perfect way to go. I'm glad to see that they got the original cast back, and I'm interested to see how they're going to implement, you know, the storyline in this. With Sigourney Weaver making an appearance, I would like to see things like that. Bill Murray's a complete badass, and I love this guy. I would like to see him come back too. So Ghostbusters, you are just a long-awaited film that people have been waiting for, including myself, and I'm glad it's coming out in 2016. Coming in at 13, Deadpool. Now, Deadpool is a complete badass and one of the most badass characters in the Marvel Universe. I'm glad to see that they, you know, cast Ryan Reynolds for the role because I really can't think of anybody else who's funny but could be, just witty and funny like that, who could actually represent the character. The commercials are just completely badass. I really like the fact that they use practical when it comes to his outfit, but they also use CGI to kind of manipulate his mask to make him use facial expressions, which I think is a pretty good way. And the one thing I do appreciate that I seen in the trailer, that this film is going to be violent, and I appreciate that. Why? Because Deadpool, despite his funny aspects, is a violent character. Coming in at number 12 is Underworld Next Generation. I am a huge fan of the Underworld franchise. I believe it to be just something, I believe it's a franchise that's yet to reach its full potential. I love Kate Beckinsale, she's complete badass, and I'm interested to see how they're going to proceed with this new movie. I like the fact that they kind of left it off where, Selene has to go find Michael now, and she has just her daughter now, and this other guy who's completely irrelevant. But I'm interested in see how they're going to take how they're going to take this Underworld franchise, because generally I think it's a pretty good franchise. And like I said, Selene's a badass, Kate Beckinsale's a badass. Vampire Leather. What else could you get? Coming in at number 11, the Divergent series, Elegant. I don't know how to say that word. Anyways, I really enjoyed the first job. I really enjoyed the first Divergent film. I thought it was a really well thought out film. I like the directing, I like the acting. I like Shailene Woodley for the most part. She was a complete badass, and I like the development art that the character went. The second film wasn't so much impressed with. There was many elements, like there was some loose points in the story. Way too many characters that weren't fleshed out the way that there should be. A complete overuse of CGI, and I'm interested to see how the story takes with this new film. It did seem a bit interesting where it seemed like these people were like test subjects, and now they have to deal with the bigger issue with more powerful people that want to wipe them out. And I'm glad to see that in this film. But I hope this film does make up for what was lacking in the second film, because it does look pretty interesting. Coming in at number 10, The Jungle Book. Jungle Book, like Tarzan, is one of those fairy tale type stories that you learn about when you were a kid, and I'm glad to see that they're making another live action adaptation about it. I like the real aspect of it. I love the voice performances. There are a lot of good voice performances. You got Idris Elba as Shere Khan. Shere Khan, the most badass tiger in history. I like the voice cast that was actually hired for this, and I like the scope. It does look like it's going to be a beautiful film, but I love the fact that it's going to be a live adaptation, and hopefully it's going to give that adventure, that fantasy adventure type feel that I've always enjoyed from The Jungle Book. Coming in at number 9, The Purge 3. Personally, I did not like the first Purge movie. I thought it was one of those films that barely scraped the surface of the potential of the franchise. It was interesting in many aspects, but at the same time, I really didn't care too many for the characters and the story. It's just the overall idea that I really liked. The second film did a much better job of kind of fleshing out this world, but there were so many elements to it that just brought it down for me. And I hope The Purge 3 does manage to just capitalize on the good aspects of it, bring out that potential. We want anarchy. That's what I would love to see. And whether it's the poor versus the rich, I want to see chaos, because that's what The Purge is supposed to be. 8 hours of straight chaos, or 12 hours, or one day, however it is. But I hope that they do make up for the lack that they had in the other two films in Purge 3. This is a great opportunity to do that, and that's what's got me really looking forward to this film. Coming in at number 8, Kung Fu Panda 3. I really enjoyed the first Kung Fu Pandas, and I hope that this film isn't like one of those Disney films where you have a really good first movie, a decent sequel, and then they like wash it down, they water it down for like little kids and stuff, because the first two films were actually kind of dark actually. And I want to see that, Poe actually sit here and go against complete badasses. I don't want to see it just be, it makes it seem like from the trailers they're just going to meet his family, and that's good. I want him to meet his family, but I also want there to be a menacing force, and not just a menacing force is just there to be just menacing for the sake of being menacing. I want it to be a good bad guy like the previous two films, who had decent motivations, who were likable, and who had some really interesting traits. Coming in at number 7, Alice Through the Looking Glass. Now, I haven't reviewed Alice in Wonderland, but this was a great adaptation to this series, and I thought it was done really well. A bit overused to CGI, and I kind of see that same thing with this film, but I want to see what's going to happen after Alice comes back to Wonderland again. I love the fact that it's actually focusing on the Mad Hatter and kind of how on their relationship. I like the fact that the evil Queen of Hearts ends up popping up again, and I'm interested to see how this new bad guy is going to throw a spin on everything, because he seems like he's a bit eccentric, and I kind of like that because I like eccentric villains. But I'm interested to see how they're going to take this film, and just because I love the Wonderland setting from the previous film, and I think Wonderland is one of the more memorable fairy tale lands that's out there next to Oz. Coming in at number 6, Huntsman Winter War. I really did enjoy Snow White and the Huntsman. I thought it was a really good adaptation of the whole Snow White franchise, and I'm glad to see that we're going to get a prequel, and it's going to show how the Huntsman became the Huntsman and how the evil Queen became the evil Queen, and we got the Ice Queen too. And I'm like, there's a pretty good cast of characters here, and the commercials were looking just fantastic, not only with the great wide shots and stuff, but also the action sequences. Chris Hemsworth is a terrific actor, along with Charlize Theron and Emily Blunt, but I want to see how they're going to sit here and just give this a great prequel without it feeling like a shoe-in. And I have to say, that last part of the trailer where you got Charlize Theron with the little shadowy tentacles stabbing people, I thought that was pretty badass. She really, really pulled that evil queen role. Coming in at number 5, Star Trek Beyond. When the Star Trek franchise got rebooted, I loved it. I thought the film was just beautifully done. Great characters, a great cast. Everything from the visual effects to the soundtrack was on point. Also, with Star Trek Into Darkness, the same thing. Benedict Cumberbatch was a complete badass. I really loved his performance. And now we got the 3rd installment in the series. And I'm glad to see where it seems like they're going to be taking the film. Now, we don't have the U.S. Enterprise We got the crew sit here stranded, trying to fight in this war against this overbearing tyrant, and I'm glad to see that. I want to see how all of these characters have to sit here and deal with the situation now. I want to see my favorite characters, Kirk, Spock. I don't want to see how they have to sit here and actually, command this crew without their ship. I think it's a great way of isolating them, and it's a great way, because I really couldn't think of an interesting way without making it seem repetitious with the space battles. But I'm glad that they're actually going to be on the ground. It's more of a survival aspect rather than exploration. And I think that's a really good way of taking the Star Trek franchise. Coming in at number 4, X-Men Apocalypse. Now, ever since the X-Men films have come out, everybody has wanted to see Apocalypse. I'm glad that they finally going with it. He does look completely badass. I've never really liked the Apocalypse look because of the whole mechanical aspect to it, but I'm kind of glad that they do pay homage to that with his design, because it actually looks pretty cool and looks pretty interesting. And I want to see how the characters sit here and have to deal with Apocalypse, the most powerful mutant and the first mutant in the whole Marvel universe, I believe. And just the way that the trailer came off, like the one part where where Xavier tries to punch Apocalypse, and all you see is Apocalypse pin him down and grow in size. And I love that. I love that aspect of it. When X-Men Days of Future Past ended and everybody's seen that one scene at the end after the credits where you see these pyramids being taken apart and put together, and you got Apocalypse sitting there, and it's like, oh yeah. And it's interesting to see how we're going to have some of these other characters who are going to be younger versions of themselves, like Cyclops, and I think that would be a pretty good way. Also with Storm. And I want to see the 4 Horsemen. I want to see what they're going to do with those characters, because I like Apocalypse. He's one of my favorite villains in the Marvel universe. Down to our final 3 highly anticipated films of 2016. Here we go. Number 3, Captain America, Civil War. Now, I love Captain America. Ever since the first film came out, I thought it was really interesting take on the character. When we had Captain America the Winter Soldier, one of my most favorite superhero films of all time, and now we got the third installment in the series where we got all of these superheroes that have been building up throughout this whole cinematic universe clash at it, and I want to see that. It looks completely badass, and I like that, you know, Captain America has to choose not only between just his friend, but what's morally right and what's morally wrong. And I like that. And I like the parallels of how, you know, his friendship with Bucky is sitting here threatening his friendship with Tony Stark. I like that. And also, we get a pretty good shot of freaking Black Panther. The dude look completely badass, but you know, in the whole last sequence of the trailer where you got Bucky and Captain America sitting here just jumping, Iron Man looks completely badass. I'm interested to see how this was going to affect the characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Captain America Civil War looks like it's going to be some, like, going off, like it's going to be some real stuff, and I'm glad to see that. Coming in at number 2, Suicide Squad. Now, I haven't been a fan of the Suicide Squad comics, but when I've seen certain episodes of Arrow and you know, the Justice League and things like that, and Batman, where they actually had the Suicide Squad, I think it's actually an interesting take, and I'm glad to see that we got a great ensemble of characters and terrific actors to actually portray those characters. It's an interesting idea. My thing that I want to see above everything else is Jared Leto's Joker. That's like the one thing that makes me just so hyped for this film, next to all the other characters. We got, you know, Will Smith as Deadshot, got Margot Robbie as the badass Harley Quinn. Like, I like that, and I'm really invested to see where they're gonna take this and how this is gonna flesh out into the DC cinematic universe if they have that, because I think it's a pretty good way of doing that. And the number 1 most highly anticipated film of 2016, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. You already know it. You already know it. Batman, the most badass human in the world, where you got Superman, the most powerful being in the universe, is going to go head to head, and the trailer shows that there's going to be a lot of chaos and a lot of destruction and a lot of tension. And although the trailers did mess up by showing a little bit too much of the film, I'm actually hyped to see it. I think it looks badass. We got all new characters supposed to be showing up. We got Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. She looks completely badass. We did get a shot of Doomsday. He looked completely badass. We got Jesse Eisenberg as freaking Lex Luthor, and I think he actually will pull that role off beautifully. I'm just ready to see and to get that answer. Who is better, Batman or Superman? And I hope that this film completely delivers. It looks completely bad. As you get this interesting take on humanity's look on superheroes, and you also get this interesting take on Superman's ideology from what the trailer's saying. So I'm actually interested to see how they're going to take this this new franchise and how it's going to flesh out the DC cinematic universe. Alright guys, in the comment section below, let me know what your most highly anticipated films of 2016 are, because you've seen what mine is. I will definitely be reviewing these films as soon as they come out, as fast as I can. And until the next edition of GEARBreakerNation, keep those gears turning.